Hi. So if you're watching this right now, odds are pretty good. You either know me as Mary-Katherine Brooks, a big old drama causing loudmouth. Some of you might know me as MK Fleming, a big old drama causing loudmouth. Or you might know me as Coach MK. And it's true, I have really big opinions. And my God, guys, I love sharing them. It's not a secret, right? I'm really good at saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. And I'm even better at pissing people off, especially when I don't mean to. Some would say I'm a world champion at it. Like, I'm really good at it. Probably the best of anyone you know, right? Most of the time when I'm making people angry, I'm well aware that I'm doing it and I just don't care. I do have a modicum of self-awareness. But there are times when I don't. And those times are horrifying, and they keep me awake at night, and they just sort of sit here like, ugh, and it's mortifying. I think we've all been there at one time or another. But I gotta say, man, in the past week alone, a whole lot of people have been compelled to have and share big opinions on Facebook. Almost all of you are trying to get it right. So let me tell you first how amazing that is. It is really cool watching people try to learn and work things out in a public space when there's just so little to guide us at the moment. So the fact that this is happening at all truly does give me hope for the future. Thank you. At the same time, though, a whole lot of you are not getting it right. And since there's no nice way for me to say this, and reaching out individually is exactly the sort of thing that gets me in trouble, and then I become the problem and you miss the message, because the messenger always gets shot. When you're a truth teller, no one says thank you. And I get that. So what I'm going to do is address some of the things I've seen, put a little writing exercise right here, same way I teach my clients all the time when I'm breaking down complicated things. And if you aren't sure where to start with all of the feelings that you have this week, but you feel like you need to do something, a great place to start would be with your Facebook posts. I'm not saying go and throw them all out the window, but it might see what I have to say, and then go back and look at some of the things you posted and see if maybe, just maybe, if you've done any of these things. A really great place to start would be rewriting them using the format that I'm about to give you. So, deep breath. By the way, this is public. It's alive. Everything that I do is public for a very good reason. Feel free to tag friends or share it. I don't really care. I don't have a problem with awkward conversations at this point in my life. I get that a lot of people are not there yet. And just share the lesson. Okay, you ready? Lesson number 1. I want my Black friends to know that I see you and I'm listening. Okay. There's a lot here. So one of the things that you're going to hear bandied about by people of color at the moment that you may not understand because you haven't heard it before. They don't teach it in school. It's called centering the conversation. So the subject of this post and this sentence is I. And what the whole point of this movement, it's not about people. It's about a system that we want to dismantle that treats people unequally. So when you say, my Black friends, I see you, awesome. My eyes work. Congratulations. That's amazing. But that doesn't really address the moment. And if you say that you're listening, I don't know about your friends right now, but a lot of mine are tapped out. They do not have the emotional bandwidth to educate you right now. And you might be seeing that on Facebook too, when they say, do your own work, educate yourselves. What they're saying is, don't bring it to me. So this is me trying to assist with that, at least with the Facebook post. All right. So MK, I want them to know this. Okay. First, if we need to rewrite this whole thing without the subject of the sentence being I, okay? Because you're not writing this for your Black friends. You're writing this for your white friends. Okay. This is posturing. It's virtue signaling. You might've heard that before. It's not helpful. Here is how I would say it. You can find your own way. It's complicated, right? Structural racism isn't hard to see. What is hard to see is where I can be most effective in fighting it. Any suggestions from people already doing this work? That's the sort of thing where I would jump in and I would say something that you wouldn't like to hear. And you would probably be like, oh my God, MK, can you believe? And that's fine. I get it, because I don't take the easy way out when it comes to things like this. And if you've been following my Facebook page recently, you know why. So that is a better way of putting it, because what I want my friends to know, if I was going to put up a post like this, and the reason I haven't put up a post like this is that I see this. I was already aware of the inequities because I've been through the criminal justice system in different ways. Once you've experienced it, you can't unsee it, and you know it wasn't made for you. Trying to talk to people who have not been through or experienced the criminal justice system in some way firsthand is a very different story, because we've all been taught since birth that it exists to protect us and to serve us, and that's not categorically necessarily true. The problem is not the people, the problem is the system. And right now, what this entire movement, all these protests are about, making sure that you see and care about the system and your role in it. It's not about guilt or blame. It's about focus on the system. Okay. That is what everybody wants you to see right now. Here's the next one. I stand with people of color. Okay. Again, if you have friends who happen to be BIPOC, if you've seen that thrown around lately, that means Black, Indigenous, and people of color. It is a more inclusive term than just your Black friends, because a lot of the same inequities that impact your Black friends impact all people of color. But that is to unpack a little bit later. If you start finding ways to use that, you're going to sound real woke. Just saying. And if you start searching for that term, it's going to lead you to more effective places where you can actually do some unpacking and learning, if that's what you want to do. So this is a problematic statement. I'm not really sure what you're trying to communicate here. Especially if you're standing with us, why aren't you at the protests? It's a good question. So just saying, you could come to the protest, then you don't have to write this, and we really need supplies, y'all. Or another thing you could say, I know this one's really complicated too. Cash bail criminalizes poverty. I will protest systemic racism by donating a certain percentage of my paycheck each month to a local revolving bail fund and support efforts to eliminate cash bail in my community. Whew, that's a mouthful. It is so much easier to say, gosh, I stand with people of color, MK. Great. How about the last time you went out with the dude who told you had a big, right? What did you do with that? If he could show me, he wouldn't tell me. Don't be that guy. This is a moment where you can do something better. I'm going to challenge you to do something better. And it doesn't have to be something big and dramatic. It can be as simple as figuring out what pieces of the power structure are most destructive and the most immediate right now by grassroots organizers on the ground across the United States. Broadly and generally speaking, you're going to hear about the prison pipeline. And that is huge. This is a tangible starting point. Cash bail, if you've ever been through the criminal justice system, it is onerous. You need cash. You need a bail bondsman. And you need someone you can contact in the middle of the night who doesn't put their phone on silent and will be there to help bail you out. Final note on this. All kinds of people who are accused of crimes have to pay bond to get out of jail. Some are higher than others, depending on the crime, the person, the place. There are a whole lot of factors, but there are all kinds of people sitting in prison right now who just can't make bail and will be sitting in prison for a very long time. So that's why these bail funds are a really big deal. They're getting people out, home with their families, producing and doing things in the economy. And it will alleviate, it won't eliminate, but it will alleviate the cycle of poverty in a very tangible, direct way. It's a big deal. Go look into that, a community bond fund. And by the way, it's white people. Another thing, I know y'all, just like me, you love your tax receipts. Most revolving bond funds are not nonprofits. You're not going to get a tax receipt, and you need to do it anyway. If ever you hear someone talk about reparations, it's stuff like this, where we put our money where our mouth is to make this system better. It's not about selling everything you own and jumping in there. Like no one's asking for that. That's not realistic. What we are saying is see it, don't unsee it, contribute to making it better, and then turn around and say, you know what? This is my issue. This is my thing. It doesn't have to be cash bail. There are 4 or 5. I'll come back to that later. Cash bail is one that I care about a lot. It is very tangible. Again, very easy to do. And there are all kinds of really cool people that are doing that work right now. If you live in Denver, Elizabeth with an S, Epps, EPPS, she's going to be doing a panel later, I think at 9 o'clock. She's really amazing. If you were going to follow one person anywhere, I would make it her. She is just electric and live streams all the time. I could go on and on about how much I admire her and her work, but you got to see it to believe it and understand. She is walking the walk. She's an attorney. She is doing the work. She's bonding people out. She is showing up with cash, going over to the protests, going back. I don't think she sleeps. It's really incredible. And the bail fund, the bond fund is her. So there's that. Instead of saying, I stand with people of color, find a way to do it and then dig into it. Get involved on a policy level, not on the national level. This is very, very hyper-localized. Remember community organizers? It's a thing. So find whoever's doing the organizing in your community. Don't try to, I've not met Elizabeth. I'm not like getting up in her face being like, let's be besties. Just follow them. Let them lead you. Say, I'm showing up here. We need X. Put the supplies through. Right? It's not about getting a gold star or acknowledgement. It's about finding the thing that you care about and showing up to do it over and over and over. There are all kinds of lanes on this highway. We don't need everyone doing the exact same thing in the same way all of the time, but this is one thing everybody can do. All right. So, ready for the next one? Are you with me? Are you okay? You're really mad? You're really mad? I get it. Take a deep breath. I do that. I have that effect on people. Sorry. Not saying you're a bad person. You're not a bad person. If you're watching this at all, if you're thinking about it at all, that is precisely what separates you from human garbage. Got it? Okay. We good? Here's another one. Okay. I had to write this one down because I start shaking a little bit when I talk about it. So, teach your kids that Black Lives Matter is problematic on multiple levels. Do we really have to say it? Do they really have to say it? Do you really need to hear it? Do you need a t-shirt that says it? Come on, guys. Amy Cooper knows that Black Lives Matter. Brock Turner knows that rape is a crime. You aren't a human garbage can. You're very rational. Odds are pretty good that you know that all human life has value and that everyone matters to someone and that every person is important and that we should all be equal in the eyes of the law. We know that. We are past the time where you can openly say and truly believe that one race is better or superior to another. There is just no place where I think you could do that safely. So the reason that you know the names Amy Cooper and Brock Turner is that their incidents involving their name are grotesque enough to become media worthy because we should be able to see ourselves in them. I could be Amy Cooper. You could be Amy Cooper. Our white sons could be Brock Turner someday. Not because I would teach my kid not to rape. I bet his parents did too. It's not about knowing the difference between right and wrong. These people knew on some level that their actions were wrong. Calling them a whatever and giving them a label is too easy because it distances us from their action. It doesn't acknowledge the common power that we both have in a system that values the word of white men over basically everybody and a white woman over a black man. That's what really isn't being said in the papers right now, and that is what makes it so ugly. She knew what she was doing, but why she chose to deploy it in that moment, it's probably a moment she'll regret for the rest of her life. It's probably not something she ever expected or planned to do. Now, I'm not excusing it. What I'm saying is if we're not taking the time to examine it and to say that could be me and children, that could be you, then we are condemning them to repeat it. We're upholding the system. It's an ugly, hard conversation, but you gotta have it. If you're gonna teach that, don't say, Teach your kids that Black Lives Matter. Number one, that's policing other white people. Don't do it. Clean your own house first. Here's a better way to say the same thing. Systemic racism is an invisible series of power structures. BIPOC, remember, Black, Indigenous, people of color. Children, BIPOC children, have to learn this from birth. They don't get to opt out. They need to understand if they're going to survive. You've heard this before. If you've ever heard that viral video from like 3 or 4 years ago where the dad's telling his daughter what to do in the case of police, and all of us were just horrified that this even has to happen. Like, I know you've seen the video on the white backdrop and you remember it. It was such a visceral moment, but it didn't change the conversation that white people have with our own children about the power we possess, or the system that treats other kids differently than them at some point. So what I'm going to choose to have these conversations with my kids today. No more pretending. And yes, I'm absolutely having these conversations with my children at home, all of them. Violet doesn't really understand it yet, but she also doesn't understand that I don't really like it when she slaps me in the face at 5:15 in the morning and demands cereal and cheese sticks. But all the others on some level know what mommy's protesting. No, they don't really know what I'm doing when I go there. And they don't need to, but they need to know why. And they need to know what matters, because they have BIPOC classmates. And since they already know, they need to be aware of the differences, else they're already Brock Turner and there's nothing I can do about it. The only way we change things is by talking about them, especially when it's ugly, especially when no one wants to listen to you, especially when they call you crazy, loudmouth, troublemaker, drama causer. I think it's a whole lot more dramatic to be a Brock Turner or an Amy Cooper. I choose to talk to my children. So, okay. You ready? This is the last one. I know this has been a bit, and then we're going to wrap it up. The final post I'm seeing that's kind of problematic. I'm so sorry, something, something, something. Everybody needs love and forgiveness. All right. Right. Number one, we're centering the conversation around you, right? No one cares how you feel right now. It's about how other people feel, impacted by a system that we choose to ignore, because that's what white privilege is. I can pretend that I don't have this power. And that, or that I would never, ever, ever use it. So I don't need training, anger management training, to keep me from popping off at some guy in the park one day just because I'm like not in a great place that morning. In those moments when you feel powerless, you reach for the thing that makes you powerful. And if you haven't taken a moment to think about that thing that makes you powerful, you could do something really, really bad. Anger just doesn't have you thinking very clearly. It can be useful, but it's data and it's information. But if you have not been taught to process your anger, to sit with the discomfort and sort of sort through, and this is hard, right? How many of our parents do that? How many do you do that with your kids? I don't always do it with I got 4 kids, under 8, no twins. I don't have this conversation every single time they are angry, upset, or yelling. But it is something we come back to over and over and over again, anger management techniques and sitting with really uncomfortable feelings. I know I do it a lot, and a lot of people don't, but I promise you it's going to do, that's another thing that might keep them from someday becoming a hashtag trending about bad behavior, is by talking about the thing that makes them powerful, even in the moments when they feel powerless, and acknowledging that system and working to slowly deconstruct it, because it's not going to happen overnight. Okay, so when you say, again, here we start, I'm so sorry, something, something, love and forgiveness, you're centering the conversation around you. You're asking the people who are still oppressed under the system for forgiveness, right? Like, they don't need to absolve you. It's not their job, right? So whenever you talk about love and forgiveness, by the way, just don't go there. You don't get to tell anyone how to feel, what to feel, or how to deal. If you work with me, if I'm Coach MK to you, you've heard me say this multiple times. I'm not going to tell you what to feel or how to deal. I will support you through your best next step and beyond. We can do that with each other. If you find yourself in that moment telling people what to feel, you owe me forgiveness because I said I'm sorry. Ugh, like, okay? And I know white women, we have been conditioned to apologize all the time. All the time. And it's maddening when we apologize for things that aren't our fault because we know we're supposed to, and that apology isn't accepted. Like, how dare you hold that power out of my reach? That's not fair. This is not that moment. Don't play into that, right? What are you asking them for? Absolution. Do you really need it? Examine why, and don't make it about engaging with the other person, especially one who might not have the bandwidth to engage with you. That's all packed into this one little statement, whether or not anyone's called you out on it. So I say this, I can't tell you how many times I said this downtown. White people are going to get us all killed. Because the ones who are acting up, who were leading the charge in the bad behavior, at least from where I could sit, was all white people. It wasn't, not a single one of them was black. And I get it. If you feel really strongly about this and you're outraged in that moment, you want to show solidarity by showing how angry you actually are. Have to ask yourself again, what good is this doing? Why am I doing it? And who do I want to be watching it? So if you show up to the Black Lives Matter rally wearing your NWA shirt, I'm going to laugh at you. We're all going to be laughing at you, all the people I'm sitting with. We found that person every night we looked for them. They were there without fail in every crowd. Don't be that guy. Don't be that person. So if once you see these things, you cannot unsee them. And that's the tough part about these invisible power structures in these systems. So again, instead of like saying we should all love each other and we should all forgive, what we need to do is in the system that distributes power unequally amongst the races, that's codified in our legal system, we then need to really talk to our children about what's wrong with it and actively work towards dismantling it. That's better than that's so much more valuable than reaching out to every person of color in your life and asking their forgiveness, trying to get them to tell you what a good white person you are, or any of the, or even trying to virtue signal to your other white friends, hoping that they might know a little bit less than you do and will make you feel better in that moment where you can feel like you really know something. So I don't do this very often. I'll talk about everything all day long. I will share my experiences as I experience them when I'm on Facebook, but I don't, as a rule, again, because it does me no good, comment on individual posts and say, you might want to rewrite this. So there is nothing in particular. If you feel like I'm coming at you right now, I promise I did not copy paste any of these. These are just variations of what I've seen on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for the past couple of days. And incidentally, a whole lot of this is the same reason a lot of my BIPOC friends, employees, and colleagues have needed to tap out of social media as of late. It's multiple things at once, but it's mostly this performative white person dance. It's a game we all play. Y'all know, like when my Southern accent comes out, y'all then need to be like, oh, listen to her. She's such a racist. You're from the South. And then the game becomes like me proving how not a racist I am. And when Amy Cooper hits, we all try to pretend how not racist we are and how we're nothing like that based on that action, that sound, that thing, that stereotype, because we really aren't sure what racism is. And maybe we kind of are a racist. When you don't know and you aren't sure, you do that nonsense to perform for other people and try to prove to yourself that you're not this thing you're afraid you are. So rather than berating yourself and being like, I'm such a racist, that doesn't really do any good. Labels aren't helpful. Look at individual things. Start with evaluating your Facebook posts. If you want to say something about Black Lives Matter, if you want to say something about the movement, don't start the sentence with I. Okay. That's it. That's all I have to say about this. I'm going to go back to watching Ozark and probably not look at the comments because I'm too afraid of what people are going to be. I've already been found by some people downtown that felt the need to tell me what they think of the fact that I was downtown protesting after curfew. I already got their opinions. I'm not sure I can handle anybody else's right now. I'll look at this because I know Amy is here. Okay, question when you have a minute. One thing I try to do as a Christian is help and not brag. So I wouldn't go online and state that I'm donating. I would make a statement like I stand with you. Okay. If I know you've run with me before, Emily, so here, you remember in the past when I've talked about goals without numbers, and if your goal cannot exist without a number, then your goal is shit. Very similar in the same vein. If you can talk about the cause or mention support that's financial without a number, then that support's performative too. It's cool to say like, hey guys, I've been learning in the wake of this week. I've learned so much and I've learned about cash bail. This is a great way we can all get started. Here's who I support. That's awesome. The Colorado Freedom Fund is the name of the fund that's run by Elizabeth Epps. So that is totally good. Who do I donate to? How many donations do I make each year? It's when you start talking about numbers, that's where the one-upmanship can come in. So I would avoid it. A good thing to do is say, hey, if any of you, because you need to remember we're talking to other people and we're not doing it to hear like, yay, good job. You're sharing a moment as you experience it, and you're sharing knowledge as you acquire it. Hey guys, if you are where I am and you didn't know this before, here's this thing. There's a reason everybody's talking about revolving bond funds and freedom funds and National Bailout Day, and it's a thing. So here's mine. Here's who I support. Check them out. Let me know what you think. That's a way to do it. But if you feel the need to talk about the numbers to show size of the support, again, if you can't show your work some other without numbers, then your work probably ain't worth much. You know what I mean? And if you ever want to DM me, you specifically, Emily, I will always help you reword it until you're sure. I'm a safe person in a safe space because I've been through this. All of my Black friends, I'm like, oh, you want to call Amy Cooper racist and walk away? Cool. That is not your work. I have that power, whether I like it or not. So it's my work to do. I don't get to call her a racist and walk away because that's too easy. So to that effect, I will be the person who helps you sort of like, not to say I'm perfect, I still get things wrong, but I will absolutely help you wordsmith any post that you want to share or knowledge that you want to share before you put it out there. Because I know it's scary to put yourself out there. Not all of us want to do the right thing. And it can be paralyzing, the fear of doing the right thing in the wrong way, because then that makes us scared to do and try to find the next right thing. I'm scared of anger too. Anger has serious consequences for me. My whiteness and my privilege will never shield me from the consequences of anger in others. And it won't do the same for you. So what you're feeling is valid. The difference is finding the safe space to take those questions to, and I will be that safe space for you. You're welcome, Yesenia. So a lot of you have chosen to, and I'm not saying, I know Yesenia quite well. Miss you, by the way. I think of you every time I'm in the gym. I still have the towel we stole that day. I still actually use it a decade later. Those are quality towels. But so you'll notice that her profile picture is blackout, and a lot of people have done it. I did not. It's not because I don't support it, but it's because this isn't all I'm doing. I know this is not all Yesenia's doing. This is her life. There's a lot more at stake for her. A lot of people just elected to do it so they wouldn't have to talk about it. But here's another white people thing when it comes to policing each other. Don't call out other people who are not doing the thing that you're doing, because those the black squares are mostly performative. And if that's all you're doing, then you're not doing enough and you're doing more harm than good. So make sure you're doing other things too before you try to police other people about the black square. I've already had people come at me today. I'm like, really? Oh, thank you, Josie. I love you. Yeah. I mean, the people who need to listen and learn are already mad and tuned out. I'm just hopeful they come back later. Yeah, we all want to do the right thing, but it's hard to know what the right thing is. And I can't tell you what the right thing is, but I can tell you a great place to start thinking about this before you go any further in a Google search and get really overwhelmed with all the options and all the information, is to start by looking right here and saying, I'm going to start with the way I think about this and write these Facebook posts, and then start to move outward from there. Because there are a lot of things you can do that would be super helpful, and we need to find things that you can continue doing, maybe not specifically every single day, but a way for you to continually show up so that we can actually do this work together. And if you know intention of doing the work, cool. Don't talk about it. Don't black out your Facebook picture. Don't write any of these posts. It's great. You don't have to do it. I wish everybody would, but I would much rather everyone did nothing and acknowledged it than did performative stuff only, because that is maddening and it makes us all look bad. Yay, cool. There you go. The bail project's fantastic. Your local bail fund, there are all kinds of lists that are up right now. I don't remember where you are exactly off the top of my head, but they're popping up all the time. So I'll see if I can find, PM me and I'll see if I can find something for you before I try to go to sleep, because I haven't slept much the past few nights. That's why I've got big hair. I love you more, Emily. Thank you, Allison. I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you. You're welcome, Melinda. Thank you, Zachary. I really appreciate that. And I'm really glad we reconnected. We went to high school together. It's been a long time. He's one of the people that knows me. He's Mary-Katherine Brooks, and does not think I'm a racist. when he hears my accent, because he has the same one. Just saying. The only people who do that are Northerners. Liberals. It's a dance liberals do. That's why I don't call myself one, FYI, because it's always liberals that need me to prove that I'm not the thing they assume that I am based off the sound of my voice, which is determined by the place of my birth. Yeah, if your ideals can't wrap around my accent, then your ideals might be BS. And if you're going, well, kind of, yeah, then you might want to check if those ideals don't somehow, even on a subliminal level, extend to skin color of the people around you, whether you're aware of it or not. Yay. Yeah, you really did. So Shauna, FYI, another thing, since everybody from Smith County is coming out right now, probably because of a back and forth that I had on Facebook earlier. Shauna and I worked at Tim Plasco together. I worked second shift at a factory called Tennessee Plastic Company. And if a reporter ever wanted to verify that piece of information, the factory no longer exists, but Shauna and I are still friends and we work together. And she is one of the biggest asses I've ever met. And I admire her to no end. So when we talk about like a typical American success story, the story that's so wild that no one believes it, it's Shauna. That's who I think of first. I love you, girl. Thank you for being here. Yes, you did tell me. My mouth got me in trouble a lot, especially at the factory, and that hasn't changed, but I'm privileged to have failed upward. Yeah. My problem with that, this is what I'm doing. You need to think about why you're sharing this before you share it. Again, as someone that opens her mouth all the time and gets it wrong a lot in a very public way, you need to ask yourself, why am I sharing this before you share it? It's very important. So the reason I did this tonight was because I've had lots of these conversations offline. Plus, it hurts me to go through Facebook and see them from people who mean well. So I thought this would be a way to sort of put the information out there, take it or leave it, and walk away, because I know this is the sort of thing people are looking for, but you're not going to find it specifically in a Google search. And it's the conversation that your friends of color just do not have the bandwidth to have right now. It's like, do I really have to explain this to you? Because to them, it seems so basic. And once you're aware of it, it does seem so basic. Like, what are you talking about? You're talking about I. So again, if you wanted to say, this is what I'm doing, I would ground it in something different. So my earlier example about cash bail. Those bond funds I've heard around, turns out we have one in Nashville. I would love to talk with anyone about why this is important. If anyone's already doing the work, would you like to come? If you have a platform of some, would you want to come to my book club? Would you like to do a Zoom meeting? I would love to, talk. There are people that are doing this work that could talk about it all day long. They might be a little fatigued right now, but there are all kinds of people that want to talk and garner your support and see that as an opportunity. So there are ways of talking about it that don't make it about you. If you center it on the learning experience and sharing it in a way that isn't a performative for getting the approval of your BIPOC friends or the admiration of your white friends. If it's like, hey, y'all, it needs to come from really Christian ideals. It needs to come from a place of humility. I didn't know this, but now that I found this, I can't let it go. What's your thing? And maybe, because there will be lots of different things. Cash bail's my thing. Cash bail is a big issue of mine. I got a list and I've been knocking it down for years. But this is one of my issues right now. And it just happened to dovetail with this moment. So to that end, and I get it, it is hard to put yourself out there. It really, really is. For me, a long time ago, once I realized that the things I felt the need to say, no one wanted to hear. And I was like, well, then what incentive do I have to stop? If I keep my mouth shut, you don't treat me fairly and I don't get what I want. Because you're afraid I might open my mouth. If I do open my mouth, you still don't treat me fair and I don't get what I want. So why in the world would I keep my mouth shut? You aren't incentivizing me to do that. It's kind of like throwing tear gas at a big crowd and like hoping it will deter bad behavior. That's not how it works. The world made this, and the world has made those riots too. So I tell you all that to tell you this. You don't have to force anything. You don't have to share anything. You don't owe it to anybody. It's important to do the work. It's important to care about the work. It's important to connect with the work. It is not important to share the work. That's something, and I know that's counterintuitive, but I learned that a really long time ago. If you feel the need to share it, then you almost have to wonder why you're doing it. Does that make sense? And again, I know that's deep and I know it's a lot, but rather it can, if you're doing this, you're going to get pushback. No one is going to want to be your friend once you do a live, once you start talking about these things, once you start saying things that make them uncomfortable. People will separate themselves from you. The nature of this work makes people very uncomfortable. It's one of the reasons why some of my closest friends didn't know I've been involved in these issues for 2 decades already. We're members of some of the groups that I'm a member of. And it's because no one wants to talk about it. And I get that. So respectfully, speak out when you have something to say. And when you don't worry about whether or not you're participating in conversations. And I'll end on this note. There are all kinds of conversations I don't have that I don't get credit for. There are times I don't speak up or I don't get involved because anything I contribute would not further the conversation. Speaking up only has value if you've thought about the meaning and the weight of the contribution itself. It is not mandatory to do so. But if you're throwing it out there and you're willing to take the hits for getting it wrong in order to have a learning experience, do it and don't stop. I will always be a safe space for that for you, because I had to go learn this stuff somewhere too. I'm just a whole lot more comfortable with getting it wrong and failing and opening my mouth. Rebecca, I really value you. Thank you. And I love you. Thank you for being here. And that's it. Those are all the comments. All right. On that note, I am going to go try to calm my hair down and my central nervous system down, because I got to sleep tonight and there's more work to do tomorrow. And there are protests every single day. Guys, we've hit a turning point. This is going one way. It's not going away. There are protests every day this week. There are protests every day next week. I have been tapped to appear at, and by appear, want to be very clear. I'm coming to the events to serve a very specific role. And the events are happening every single day for the next 2 weeks already. So this is going one direction. There's no turning back. Do the work, learn the stuff. Don't put it on your Black friends. If you have questions, I'll be your person. Come to me. I will have these conversations all day long. But be cognizant about what you want to say. Again, as someone that puts a lot out there in public, I would beg everyone to think twice about what you're attempting to communicate before you use your voice, because you can do a lot of harm with it. Getting it wrong can hurt the very person that you're trying to demonstrate an allegiance to and an alliance with. So, to you, Melinda, thank you so much. I really do. Oh my gosh, I love this. So again, so everybody's watching this knows who this Michelle Wallace is. Was one of my college roommates, sophomore year at Georgetown. Oh my gosh, and she is Black. My message to non-Black people who have asked me what can I do is to use your voice in places where I cannot. Thank you. I use my voice everywhere, Michelle. I want you to know that, especially when I see people picking up the wrong brush to clean the toilet with, like you did me that day way back when. Don't use sponges to clean the toilet, y'all. Things I learned the hard way, because Michelle made sure I would never, ever, ever forget it. We shared a bathroom. Bless her heart. I think that's why she's a doctor now. I hope you are. I hope you're doing well, Michelle. I miss you so much. And I love seeing all the photos of you and that guy. We need to have a phone conversation and talk about that guy, because, oh my gosh, he's very good looking. And I've seen him a lot. So I think that warrants a conversation. But there you go. So, and for the record, I know that you felt this way at my wedding, but you are not my Black friend anymore. I got a lot now. Yay me. And yay you. Anyway, that's it. Sorry, that's too comfortable with her. I've known her for 20 years. All right, so that's it. If anyone has any questions, like I said, I'm not going to judge you because I've been where you are. I'm not going to tell you what to feel or how to deal, but I can help you think through things and make, hopefully, I don't know that I can help you do the next right thing, but I can help you point in that direction, because that's what it means to be in my purview and be coached and loved and winning at life. Have a good week, you guys. And if you are struggling right now, again, no, that's valid. We're going to be starting the morning mantra back up pretty soon.